Welcome back. You're watching The World Today, broadcasting live from Lagos on Channels Television. We're looking through African headlines, and we have to start in Libya. Libyans are stunned after 2 days of fighting between rival militias as they left the country's main international airport out of action. At least 8 people have died in the clashes and 12 planes were damaged. The airport remains in the hands of the Zintan militia, which has controlled it since Muammar Gaddafi was ousted.
A militia shelled Tripoli airport, destroying 90% of planes parked there, as heavy fighting between armed groups prompted the United Nations to pull its staff out of the North African country. 2 soldiers were killed and a number of planes were damaged when a militia shelled Tripoli airport on Monday. 3 years after the fall of Muammar Gaddafi, Libya has slipped deeper into chaos with its weak government and new army unable to control brigades of former rebel fighters and militias who often battle for political and economic power. 7 people were killed in Tripoli on Sunday in the worst fighting for 6 months in the capital, where rival militias have been fighting for control of the airport. Security and medical sources say at least 6 people had been killed and 25 wounded in Benghazi in heavy fighting between security forces as well as rival militias since last Sunday. The UN mission in Libya said the closure of Tripoli airport and the deteriorating security situation made it impossible for it to operate. In Benghazi, irregular forces loyal to renegade former General Khalifa Haftar bombarded Islamist militia bases as part of his campaign to oust militants. Special forces clashed with militia fighters in the city. Most of the dead and wounded were civilians, and according to medical sources at Benghazi Hospital, at least 10 houses were hit with missiles and government offices and banks were also forced to close. Western powers fear chaos in Libya will allow arms and militants to flow across its borders. The south of the vast desert country has become a haven for Islamist militants kicked out of Mali by French forces earlier this year.
Now let's talk about the child human rights activist who is very passionate about child education. She visited Nigeria just yesterday and we had an exclusive with her following President Goodluck Jonathan's promise to Malala Yousafzai and the Nigerian people that he will apply the best strategy possible to bring the abducted girls of Chibok safe and alive. The child activist has made a promise of her own. She spoke to Channels Television about her resolve to make campaigning for their release her life goal so that authorities do not ever forget the void created by the girls' absence. She also promised to remain true to her course despite criticism she may be playing to a script written by the West.
People are thinking that Nigeria is such a scary country and you should not go to Nigeria. But I thought that like my sisters need me, and more than 200 girls are abducted and I need to go and speak up for them, and I need to tell the president that he should realize his responsibilities and he should do something for it. So it's really great that I have come here and I have met people, and the people of Nigeria are incredible. They are really nice. They are really they have this determination, they're resilient, and they are really courageous people.
But you know, the president's promise comes amidst, a lot of frustration from a lot of people who feel that, a lot of time has been wasted. It's been over 90 days. We're still looking for the girls. When are they coming home and so on? Do you see that frustration also?
Well, I started the campaign for the release of the girls since April, and we have been doing it. But in the beginning, people were really talking about it on Twitter, and then it just dropped down. People stopped talking about it, but it was my campaign that I would continue speaking about it, and I will continue until these girls are released. So even though the president had made so many promises, I'm still going to continue the campaign for my Nigerian sisters until my Nigerian sisters are released and they continue their education and they start going back to their schools, they return to their families safely.
Well, you have had your own share of a terrorist group attack on your own person. 2 years ago, you were shot in the face, and thank God for you're alive and you're well. But what's the message that you have back home in Pakistan, and how effective is your message to your people?
Well, a situation all around the world is getting worse. Even in Pakistan, there are about more than 5 million children who are out of school. And nowadays, there is a military operation in the north of Pakistan, and people are leaving their homes. They're becoming refugees. And more than 8 lakh, which is 800,000 people, they have left their homes, and now their children cannot go to school. They have no access to education, so it's very important for them to continue their education. So I raise my voice for them as well, and as well as I want every child in my country to get education, especially girls, because girls are the most deprived ones. And all over the world, it's my message that education should be the top priority of every country.
You've heard criticism about what you're doing. People have said that you become the poster child for the West when it comes to girl child education. What's your response to critics when they make comments like that?
Well, I haven't seen anyone becoming famous and then there won't be any critics. There would always be critics. But I am true to my campaign, and my campaign is education. And I believe that education is neither Western nor Eastern. Education is education. And education is the right of every child. And I will continue this campaign. People should understand that Malala's campaign is to see every child going to school. And I will continue doing it. I don't know how people relate it to the westernization, but this is my only campaign, and this is what I do. I speak up for children's rights, I speak up for women's rights, and I speak up for equality and justice.
That's an exclusive interview with our Foreign Affairs correspondent Amarachi Ubani with Malala Yousafzai. You can watch the rest of that interview on our website, channelstv.com. Now, one would have thought that Oscar Pistorius would have learnt his lesson was in enough hot water. The South African athlete and murderer accused was involved in an argument at a nightclub at the weekend. Mr. Pistorius had an altercation with businessman Jared Mortimer, who said he was drunk. Mr. Pistorius' spokesperson said the argument took place after Mr. Mortimer started to aggressively interrogate him about his murder trial.
South African Olympic and Paralympic track star Oscar Pistorius was involved in an argument at a nightclub over the weekend, just days after his lawyers wrapped up their defense in his murder trial. The Star newspaper said Pistorius had an altercation with businessman Jared Mortimer at a club in Johannesburg's upmarket Sandton business district, reportedly after the athletes made disparaging comments about Mortimer's friends. Pistorius' family spokeswoman Angelisa Burgess said the argument started after Mortimer started to aggressively interrogate Pistorius about the murder trial, which has attracted huge domestic and international attention. On Sunday, July the 13th, hours after the incident, Pistorius was active on social networking site Twitter. He tweeted a Bible verse, a collage of pictures of him and children, and an extract from Viktor Frankl's book, Man's Search for Meaning. The 27-year-old, known as the Blade Runner because of the carbon fiber prosthetic running legs he uses, is on trial for the murder of his girlfriend, Riva Steenkamp, whom he shot and killed at his luxury Pretoria home on Valentine's Day last year. Pistorius says he killed Steenkamp after mistaking her for an intruder hiding in the toilet next to his bedroom. The state accuses him of shooting her in cold blood after an argument. The case was adjourned until August the 7th to allow the legal teams to prepare closing arguments. Judge Thokozile Masipa will then begin her deliberations, extending a trial that has already dragged on for over 4 months.
Media is allowed until such time that argument.
That will be all on The World Today. Thank you so much for watching the program. I am Adeshewa Josh. Coming up next is Sports at 6.